Thanks for listening and subscribing to the Clive Barker Podcast, episode 248. In this episode, Ryan and Jose catch up. We talk about Jose's move to Ohio. We discuss Candyman, Hellraiser, and Nightbreed news, and we find out the answer to the question, do people actually watch the movies along with us during our commentary tracks? Please bear with me on this one. I was very ill, and I still am. So yeah, without any further ado, here we go. Well, welcome. This is episode 248 of the Clive Barker Podcast. It's a news episode, and I'm Ryan.
And I'm Joe.
Hey, I'm going to sound sick. We just finished recording the commentary that we're going to put up next week for Dark Ditties for the Witching Hour.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I was sick for that one too, and I mostly didn't talk. I just had a few comments here and there.
We had Laurie Markle Bichet from Simon Benford fans. We had Simon Benford himself, and we had Gary Smart, who was a writer of the episode, and a producer. So yeah, it's been a fun morning so far. We've watched some cool Dark Ditties episode, and now we're just catching up chat.
Yeah. So, what have you just had a pretty big life change. You just moved from Arizona to Ohio. Yeah,
what an adventure. 1,800 miles, 5-day drive. And I'm sitting here in an office that's partially put together. Mm-hmm. I was actually looking for my mic stand and my mic for this morning's episode.
Oh, wow.
We're still unpacking some boxes, and there's snow outside. So I moved from Arizona to Ohio. And my car is completely covered by snow outside my window. So, yeah, I would say a big change. I don't particularly like the cold, but I feel more spiritually connected to you now, Ryan, because you're in Alaska.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually been warm here for the past, week or so. It's been above zero, 5.
It's been warm. It's been 5 degrees. Okay.
Yeah. Anything above zero is feels like spring to us.
Oh my gosh. It's like 20 something degrees outside right now for me.
Oh, so okay.
It's pretty cold. Luckily, I think one of my cats has never seen snow before. So that's interesting. I'm thinking about grabbing the cat and throwing them in the snow just so they can have a taste of what it is. I'm sure they will run back into the house in mortal terror.
That's been my experience.
Yeah.
They don't like it.
Yeah. So we're catching up today a little bit on the news. There's not a lot of news to go by, but one thing we did was, since we've talked about commentary tracks and we recorded one this morning, Ryan, you made a poll, right?
Yeah. So, and it was interesting because after Marcus and I did that commentary for The Exorcist, and at the end, Marcus said, when you listen to commentary episodes for podcasts, do you follow along with the movie or do you just listen to it? And I admitted, I just listen to them most of the time because it takes a lot of time and attention to sit down and spin up a movie. Mm-hmm. To listen along with the commentary, whereas if you just listen to it like a podcast episode, you can be doing the dishes or driving your car, or whatever other things that you're doing.
Sure.
And I said most of the time it's true I don't. And then also I had another discussion with Ed Martinez, that same day he brought up that same issue. He said, I think, I think that people don't listen to
They don't watch the movies
while they're listening to podcast episodes.
Okay.
And so I made a poll. I made one in Facebook and one on Twitter. And what we're finding, it's about the same percentage. The same percentage of people on both polls, slightly higher for people who just listen, like what Marcus and I were talking about. And then just a little bit lower, so what have we got? We got 50% people just listen to it. 37.5% say that they do watch and follow along with the movie. And then a really small percentage of people say they just skip those episodes. They don't watch them at all or listen at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, personally, I usually watch the movie with the commentary track.
Yeah.
Unless it's a movie that I'm already like very familiar with.
You mean if it's a podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's, I've done that before. I mean, there's this guy called Oliver Harper on YouTube, for example. He's got an interesting YouTube channel. Sometimes I like to listen to the commentary tracks by themselves if it's a movie that I've known like very well, like let's say Hellraiser. Yeah. But if it's a movie that I'm like, oh, I've seen that movie a while ago once, and now there's a commentary track. Well, interesting. I'm going to watch the movie and play along with it. Yeah. Because it depends also on what sort of podcast commentary track it is. Some podcast commentary tracks are very specific about the scenes that are on the screen while they're talking about them. Yeah. But then there are others who just kind of sidetrack and they just talk about episodes and behind the scenes and whatever. And it's like for those, you almost don't have to like watch the movie. Yeah. But I usually, if I'm listening to something, I do tend to play the movie if I can. Well, so I would put myself on that camp. Yeah.
And it also, I think it also depends on the person and where they, how they do stuff. And, if you have kids is a huge influence. Like, for me, I have a kid who refuses to watch any movie. Mm-hmm. So whatever I do has got to be before he gets up in the morning, like right now, or after he goes to bed at night. That's when I can watch movies.
Yeah, I get it. But it was interesting to know this because I like to think of the commentary as a shared experience, like you've mentioned before. Yeah.
And we do tailor it for that. And seeing these polls, I'm still glad that we do, because I think that there's enough people that do follow along with the movie to make it to keep making it that way.
Yeah, sure. I agree. So yeah, keep an eye out for next week because you'll be listening to The Witching Hour. That's episode 4 of the Dark Ditties. Yeah. And it's available on Amazon Prime. So you can just go there and set it up, play our podcast. I think Simon Banford did a countdown for it. So that's how we usually set it up. Yeah, that's how you can synchronize it.
He did a crazy countdown just teasing us.
Yeah.
But that was fun. Yeah, so then that'll take us right into the news. And so Bleeding Cool reported that the character of Helen Lyle was returning to Candyman.
Right. But it's not going to be Virginia Madsen, though. It's going to be Cassie Kramer.
Yeah, and this is problematic for me because all of this time, I had some hopes that it was not a remake. Because we know that the entire arc of Helen Lyle occurs in just the first movie, and there's really nowhere else for that character to go.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Well, I always kind of imagined this was going to be more like a soft reboot or a little bit of a reimagining since they recast everybody.
What does soft reboot mean, though?
Well, it's when they forget about some of the movies, but not all of the movies, or when they just, or when they go back to, the mythology of the first movie, but they just create a new story, but with different characters or different cast. Like when they made
Highlander 3 and they said Highlander 2 never happened.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I would call that kind of a soft reboot. I don't know if that's something people are, want to call it that, but
or the new Halloween.
Or the new Halloween, that say, well, let's just make a direct sequel to the first one instead of, creating the story all over again from the first movie.
Halloween 2Z or whatever.
Yeah. Well, it's like Halloween 9, 10, I don't know. Anyway, so, Cassie Kramer has been cast as Helen Lyle. And says here, of course, Jordan Peele movie directed by Nia DaCosta. Yeah. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen II is, I think, going to play Candyman. Yeah. So, it's not going to be. But, we're not sure if the original actor that played Candyman is coming back. They, some time ago they said Tony Todd might be in the movie as a cameo playing Daniel Robitaille or something. I remember something like that. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Well, and it's been sort of off and on, and they don't want to say what his character is because that would spoil it. So it's been really kind of they've been cagey about his role, and I think they really don't want to tell anybody anything about the movie, but people keep digging stuff out of the IMDb page.
Yeah, that's usually where they go for that, right?
Yeah.
So that's weird because Candyman is supposed to hit theaters in June.
Yeah.
And they're saying now this Bleeding Cool page is announcing Cassie Kramer's been cast as Helen Lyle. So I'm not sure if this is old news that's just coming back for some reason, because I was under the impression that they were already shooting this movie a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Right.
They had pictures of the set and pictures of them shooting the movie.
Yeah.
So, sometimes these blogs.
Yeah, maybe it's just somebody happened to notice on the IMDb page and nobody else had reported it, so they just jumped on it.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's interesting. The cast, now we know pretty much the entire cast, and I guess if it's coming in June, that's almost just 4 months away. So I'm pretty sure that this is old news.
Well, and it's hard for me to not feel disappointed because I really didn't want this to be a remake. And it seems like it has to be if you put Helen Lyle in it.
Uh-huh.
But then we don't really know. Maybe she's in a flashback.
Yeah, maybe she's a spirit. Who knows, right?
Yeah, or she could be the Helen Lyle character after the movie, who's another ghost with a hook.
Yeah, or it could be like in the prequel scene or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so we don't know.
They've been clamping down the secrecy pretty hard on this movie.
Which is good. I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah, true. I mean, sometimes it's bad when you get to know exactly every single thing that's happening with the movie. Yeah. And then it kind of, kills it for you a little bit.
And I've been watching The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And the first episode is called The Hellbound Heart. And Sabrina even says to her friends she says, "My heart isn't hellbound." Yeah, which was a little cringy, but I'm glad that they did it because it's kind of neat to see those little references in there. And but a lot of the story takes place in hell for season 3, and so.
Well, that's intriguing.
Sabrina is trying to convince her friends that, no, I'm not going to stay in hell. I still have a place here at Greendale. And in fact, she becomes a cheerleader.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So there was that. There was also, what else did I see? There were some musical notes that were sort of Hellraiser adjacent.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, and there was this isn't Clive Barker related, but they took they smashed the statue of Baphomet with a sledgehammer.
Oh, no more lawsuits from the temple of the Satanic Temple, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Looks like they're moving on from that. So, but that's interesting that what was it called? The Hellbound Heart?
Yeah, the Hellbound Heart.
Okay, cool. I mean, it makes sense because, once she signed the Book of Names, right, she becomes connected to the Dark Lord because that show had a really hard time talking about Satan or the devil. Yeah. They just call him the Dark Lord for most of the thing.
And it goes a lot deeper once you watch season 2 and season 3. Mm-hmm. Her connection to Lucifer and stuff. So that was neat to see. Something that we had just talked about in our episode that we're going to be airing next week, but Nightbreed turns 30 this month in February.
That's pretty good because it came out in February. What was the day? I don't know the exact day, but it's February of 1990. So now it's 2020, and holy crap, where did 30 years go? Yeah. Right? It's crazy. 30 years.
Yeah, and I think your big Nightbreed article was a 27th anniversary article, right? So
that was 3 years ago. Yep. So interesting that now finally the movie is in its director's cut, and people are still asking about the Cabal cut. And it's like, it's for years we didn't have anything except for the theatrical cut.
Yeah, and
now it's like our cup runneth over because
and we had a terrible DVD, and that was it. Like it was
bare bones.
Yeah, and it had bad facts on it. You know,
I remember that
and stuff.
Now it's on Blu-ray.
It said like it said like Clive Barker directed Candyman, I think.
Yeah, something like that. I remember that. Back when DVDs would count animated menus and trailers as special features.
Yeah,
which I always thought was a ripoff.
Yeah, but then of course in North America we had that, but then in the rest of the world they didn't even have that DVD. They had nothing.
But it's cool because I've seen in all sorts of places like blogs and stuff, people saying the Star Wars of horror, 30 years of Nightbreed. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty generous calling it the Star Wars of horror. Yeah. Yeah.
And articles are popping up saying, you know, Clive Barker's most underrated movie or the movie that you never, you know, this amazing epic horror movie that you never saw and stuff like that.
Yeah. It warms your heart to see people getting back into that movie because there's so much work and so much world building and mythology and beautiful monsters created in this movie that I'm happy that Arrow has put out, you know, a Blu-ray for Nightbreed and all that. So it's great. It's finally earned its little place in history, and it's the version we always wanted to see.
Yeah. And speaking of that, this one kind of took me by surprise, but Dawn of the Discs reported that there's going to be a Hellraiser Bloodline box set.
I'm a little skeptical about this one.
Yeah, I know. They didn't have a website. All they had was a Facebook page to link.
Right. So it says that they have a work print that they're going to put up in one of the discs. And I know where this work print came from. I know how it ended up on the internet. It was through this forum called the Cenobite.com, the Hellbound Web.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was a tape that was purchased that had a work print. And then that tape was transferred onto DVD. And then there were some third generation copies of that re-encoded into like a short 700 megabyte file that ended up on the internet. And I think that's what's been used in all these bootlegs to put it out. Yeah. It's probably not the best version of that tape. I'm not saying anything else about that, but I'm pretty sure that if that's the version they're using, the one that they find on the internet, that's not the best transfer of that VHS work print tape. So that's all I'm saying. And no matter how good they clean it, no matter how much work they do to it, it's never going to be as good as the tape itself. So, but anyway, so they say one Ultra HD Blu-ray, one regular Blu-ray, one DVD, one CD in the media book. A Pinhead bust is coming along with it. Film motif T-shirt, probably going to have the logo saying Hellraiser 4 Bloodline.
So you can poke your hands when you're trying to get your movie out of the box.
And 5 postcards.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, they're trying to sweeten the package here, but it's, ultimately it's only going to be good for maybe the Pinhead bust and the Ultra HD version of Bloodline. I don't know if they've done any sort of, it says here, exclusive 4K restoration. So I'm wondering how they did that, if they did it from the actual film elements, if they rescanned it in 4K.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see the quality of that, because the Blu-ray was pretty good already. But, if this is a 4K restoration, I might be interested in this. I'm not super interested about the work print because I have a copy of the work print, and you've seen it, and it's okay.
I haven't heard of this company, 84 Entertainment. Have you?
No, but I'm not a huge Blu-ray collector, so I wouldn't know a lot about these, companies. So it's limited to 300 pieces. So this is probably going to sell out pretty quickly. And so
I would be interested if they would just put out the Hellraiser 4 Blu-ray separate. I don't need all that extra. Like, I don't need that bust of Pinhead. I don't want a movie like that to take up my entire movie shelf.
I get it. I think if they did the 4K restoration, it's probably going to come out as its own thing, because that's what happens when you hear that Hellraiser had this 2K restoration and whatever, and then ultimately it just makes its way into all the Blu-ray subsequent releases. Yeah. So especially when Arrow did it, and then other companies licensed that, and it's always been like the 2K restoration now. So I'm sure there'll be a 4K restoration by itself, just of Hellraiser 4. I might wait for that because I'm not really interested in all the other stuff at this point. I'm looking at the Pinhead. I haven't even gotten into UHD. I don't have a TV that can display that. I just have a regular HD TV, and I don't have an HD Blu-ray player. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just still haven't gotten to that point. Sure. I mean, Blu-ray is HD. You're talking about Ultra HD.
Yeah.
So is that read by regular Blu-rays? That's one thing I don't know. I think
I don't
it might
think
be.
So. I think you have to get a Blu-ray player that can read those, or maybe they automatically downgrade them to HD when they play them. If you just put it in like a regular PlayStation 4 or whatever.
How do I play 4K Ultra HD? Yeah. So let's see. Yeah, I think.
Well, at bare minimum, you have to have a TV that can do that.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the digitaltrends.com website. It says here, Ultra HD. I know now a lot of things like Netflix have 4K streaming, so that's Ultra HD. Yeah. And let's see. Of course, with the technology, do you need a new disc player? Let's see. Does it say yes or no? Yeah. If you want to enjoy Ultra HD Blu-ray discs, you'll need to buy a new Ultra HD Blu-ray disc player. Yeah. So if you have a Blu-ray player that you bought back like 5, 6, 7 years ago, you probably have to buy a new one for this. But, I mean, there's people who probably have very good home theater experiences, so I'm sure they will be able to enjoy the Minos space station and Pinhead and, all that stuff. I like that movie. People say, oh, it's an Alan Smithy film. It's Pinhead in space. Screw you. I like the movie.
Yeah, I do too. I like about 3/4 of the movie, I guess.
Yeah,
is a better way to put it.
Yeah, I share that opinion. It's like, sure, it could have been so much more, but I still like it. I still think it's a great Hellraiser movie. I still saw it in the theaters, and I was happy with it at the time. Yeah. Sure, when you go back and you repeat viewings and then you watch the work print and you're like, yeah, it could have been better. It could have been just like Nightbreed,
Also, depending on what standard you're putting it up against. I mean, if you compare it to the whole gamut of Hellraiser sequels, it's pretty far up there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to know more about that, we also did interview Kevin Yeager in Dallas back in 2017 or something. We even have a video interview with him. It was episode 178, Hellraiser Bloodline with Kevin Yeager.
And you can watch the video version of it on our YouTube channel too.
That's right. Yeah.
And Rob Reidenauer did most of the questions, and you did some, and my job was to sit off camera and holding the microphone.
Yeah, it was kind of an impromptu thing because it was hard to get the time to sit down with Kevin Yeager. So he just basically said, well, why don't we do it here in the hallway right now?
Yeah.
We'll just go into a quiet hallway.
He just sat on the floor. Yeah, we all just sat on the floor, and it was fun. That was really neat.
Fun. Yeah, it was close to the bar area. If it was too noisy in the bar area anyway, so we could have sat there, but it was too noisy. So go check out episode 178. There's some questions we ask about Hellraiser Bloodline, and let us know if you get this edition, Hellraiser Bloodline by Dawn. It was reported on Dawn of the Discs Facebook page, and what was the company name? I forgot.
84 Entertainment. It's like apostrophe 84, like the year.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And we could add that to the show notes so you can go check out the announcement.
Yeah.
And if you're a big collector of Blu-rays and you want to have a little Pinhead on your bust of Pinhead on your desk, this is the thing to get.
Yeah.
And a T-shirt.
And I kind of wish that the Scarlet Box had been able to just have this in it. I think the Scarlet Box would have been best if it could have had the 4 theatrical releases in it rather than the first 3.
Yeah.
But
I'm reading something
issue, I think, right?
I'm reading something in the comments here, probably, that says 4K Ultra HD is a natively region-free format. So that disc might be region-free. So that's another good thing if you're listening to this in England or Germany or wherever you are. You probably, if you buy this, I don't know. I'm just reading from the comments, but you might want to look it up first. But it says here, a guy called Travis is saying 4K Ultra HD is a natively region-free format. So maybe that disc is region-free. So that would be great.
That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And actually another reason I haven't upgraded is because every time I get a new TV, the availability of ports on the back for like old video game consoles starts going down, and the support for old resolutions for like the Sega Genesis, and and older consoles, those native resolutions for those that goes down too. And pretty soon you plug the consoles into the TV and you can't see anything because it doesn't support it.
Yeah, or you don't even have the input for the certain format that you want to put in, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because I saw. Can you believe it that there's 4K TVs being made now that still have the AV, with the pins? Yeah. With from the computer. They used to have, some computers had that.
The VGA port.
Yeah, VGA port. There's a TV in China. It's called it's. Have you ever seen this video recently about these guys kicking a TV? It's a kick-proof TV from China.
No.
Okay.
Why would you need a TV to be kick-proof?
Yeah, I know.
What is their use case for that?
I don't know. Like,
do you have a problem with people running into your house and kicking your TV?
Yeah, or like, you're playing Wii and you forgot to put the strap on your remote and you hit a TV with it or something. I don't know. Or you're playing Smash Brothers with your, anger management.
Yeah. Well, kid. Hey, do you know if your Wii supports GameCube games?
I don't know. I never tried.
It's got a cover on the front that you flip down, and you can see like all the ports for the GameCube controllers and the GameCube memory cards. So if you have that, then you could play Phantasy Star Online with me.
Oh, okay. Well, let's put a tutorial on how to do that in the show notes.
Okay.
For anybody out there who wants to play.
Yeah, if you want to play Phantasy Star Online, the GameCube version on the Wii, which is how most people play it. I'm the only one doing it on an original GameCube. I bought a broadband adapter, and I plugged it into my router and stuff, and I set up the custom server settings for there's a guy, the Shitstack, SCHT server, where you can go online and this guy's running it as if he were Sega. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, if you want to play with Ryan, go ahead and check the show notes, and you can probably do that with your Wii.
Yeah, I'll put those 2 tutorial videos on the show notes.
And by the way, I think that this Hellraiser 4 release comes from Germany. That's where
it seemed like
84. Yeah. So it's 250 euros apparently.
Oh. That's a lot, isn't it? That's like $300, or it's because euros are worth
more,
a little bit more than an American dollar.
Yeah, it's about $273.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm probably just going to wait until. Personally, I'm going to wait until the Hellraiser 4 4K Blu-ray is available by itself, and then I'll probably buy it. Because I don't really care about this bust of Pinhead and the postcards. Yeah. That's just stuff they make up, It
gets to a point where that stuff starts taking over your whole house.
Yeah, right. I mean, when we have a big collection like we do, it's like, I don't need another copy of anniversary copy of this book, or do I? And then you find yourself, putting like 3 or 4 copies of the same book.
And
then someone comes to your house and they say, "Why do you have 4 copies of this book?" Well, this is the original hardback cover, first edition. This is the 20th anniversary edition. This is the 30th anniversary edition. And this one I just bought because I have a podcast about Clive Barker.
Right. And this one I had a special experience getting it signed, so I can't get rid of that one. And it's like, that's why I still have DVDs and Laserdiscs and stuff, you know, because they're all signed. I'm not going to get rid of them now.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and going back to Phantasy Star Online, if you do get on there, my character is Emmett 1. So look for Emmett, you know, from Emmett the Crab. That's me. But yeah, so what have we got coming up? Well, in the immediate future after this episode, our next one is going to be Dark Ditties presents the Witching Hour commentary that we just talked about. We're going to do more work on the book. We've got more commentaries coming up, and we're gonna probably continue on to the Exorcist III because that's like the fan favorite of the Exorcist sequels, and so we want to do that one. So that'll continue on to B is for Beelzebub. I was looking at that the other day. I'm like, man, we are not very far in the alphabet. we just got through A, and now we're almost, you know, we're halfway done with B.
We might have to do just one movie per letter.
Yeah, it's hard though. Some of them you really want to do more. You know, like C is for Chaos is like H.R. Giger movies, I think. Oh. Or no, one of them is H.R. Giger movies. And so it's like there's a bunch of them that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Alien and Alien 3 and Poltergeist 2 would be kind of fun to do also. And
sure, yeah, I would love to do Poltergeist. Holy crap.
And Species was kind of a neat movie too. It was a fun
it was all right.
Yeah.
That franchise got downhill pretty fast.
No,
Species, the first one is good.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just the
and
first
then it's
movie.
like, I think it's the third one where, like, you know, when the woman has sex with an alien, she would become pregnant with a hybrid. Yeah. But in the third, I think it's like they have sex and literally within like 30 seconds, the woman's belly blows up like a balloon and boom, it explodes. And it's like, oh God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the only way they can sell those sequels is by putting them in a box set with the first one.
Yeah, the old trick.
Yeah.
So B, C, D, E, F, G, and H. So we'll probably
that's where we're at on our Kickstarter. You know, so we got to keep on moving through those, and then we're going to also get to Abarat 3 discussion, and we're going to talk about the Imaginer series, and so I need to still order us Imaginer 7, and then I'm hearing like it might. From Phil and Sarah, they told me that it might be like next month when we can order 8, Imaginer 8.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll do that too, and we'll make sure that then we'll have all of them. Oh, and they told me also which plays were going to be next.
The plays for the little playbooks that they're releasing through the Clive Barker archive? Yeah. That's cool. It's going to be Night Lives and Frankenstein in Love.
Oh, you found it.
Yeah,
thank you.
I did.
Okay. Yeah, Night Lives and Frankenstein in Love. So once again, we got one play that's never been released before, Night Lives, and then one that has in those two playbooks, Frankenstein in Love.
That's good because those old incarnations and forms of heaven hardback anthologies of plays, they've been out of print for a long time. So it's good that they're putting these little plays out through the Clive Barker archive, so people who didn't buy those books or can't find them have a chance to get them. Yeah. And also they add a lot of more stuff to it, like drafts and pictures and, you know, stuff about the plays. Yeah.
And they're so inexpensive. You know, they're great for anybody. And if somebody wanted to buy those books for an entire cast and you know, and get permission from Clive to do a production of the play, they could buy those for everybody, and those would work really well as the script.
Yeah, absolutely. So cool. Something to look forward to for this year, I think.
Yeah.
Amazing. And you were doing the Alaska Comic-Con, right?
Alaska Comic-Con. Yeah, that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. I need to start figuring out how I'm going to set up the table and everything.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So
I do have a
next
banner.
Week,
I have a banner now, and I made business cards that are bookmarks.
All right. So next week there's going to be Dark Ditties, and then the next following week it might be a special with the Alaska Comic-Con, right?
Yeah, depending on what I can get out of that. It will. If I can record some people talking about Clive Barker and stuff, we'll see how much I get if it merits an entire episode. And,
sure.
I don't really know how many Clive Barker fans there are. I just know the people that I play Dungeons and Dragons with. They're like, I don't know who that is, and they're all a bunch of young people. They're like, 25 to 30-year-olds. I'm
sure if you're there, there's more people there. And there's also, the teacher that was with us in the Abarat 1 and 2 episode discussions. So I'm sure there's a lot of people there. I mean, it's a cold place. People need an escape into fantasy. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Clive Barker fans.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we'll find out. I think when I look at the map of where our downloads come from, all of the ones in Alaska come from me, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a big place, man. It's a big place.
Yeah. So maybe I'll get the word out and we'll get more local interest.
Well, now there's one more Clive Barker fan in Ohio right now, so that's me.
All right, yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, take it easy. I know we've just recorded 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah, but it's fine. So thanks for listening to the Clive Barker Podcast news episode. And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end.
You can find the show notes for this episode and join the discussion over at www.clivebarkercast.com. We've got an archive of past episodes, news, features, and reviews, along with all the ways you can connect with us. You can subscribe on every other place you can find podcasts. Share your thoughts with us, and share our podcast with your friends. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and news blog that's not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.